So as a follow-up to my episode 2 video, I need to make a penance. That video did get a little, let's pile up on Kurt Cobain for not being a complex writer. I have a lot of nostalgia for Nirvana as the soundtrack of my very young childhood. The older I become, I find that some of that nostalgic music doesn't have much for me beyond simple nostalgia. I actually saw this tweet that summed it up pretty well. I like music that feels like it's written for, this is going to sound controversial, for grown-ups. Like it's designed to grow and last with me, so that I won't feel only nostalgia for it when I'm listening to it at 60 or 70. I love music that stays fresh and keeps up with me. But I may have dissed a sacred cow or a personal hero of yours and put him on an unfair level of comparison. And that's on me. My bad. That being said, let's compare randyrhoads with someone. I guess the reason I honed in on Nirvana is because I get the impression sometimes that power chords can lead to ghost notes and harmonies. People hearing things that aren't really there. Overdrive and overlaying in the studio can only compound this effect. And to be fair, that is part of the magic of music in the studio. It can lead to a lot of happenstance with the interplay of the harmonic overtones. But it got me thinking about how that two-note dyad, that power chord shape, is really a goldmine that some really great players have utilized for a lot of harmonic and melodic impact. And they know how to utilize it beyond simply retaining the shape and moving it up and down the fretboard and seeing where it lands. So let's take a look at 3 levels of complexity, utilizing the challenge of keeping things on that 2-string dyad structure. Like before, for the sake of example, these have all been transposed to the single key of G sharp minor. Since we're looking into shapes and line movements, the basic playability of the riffs on the instrument, though, have been retained. Let's be realistic. This is a great riff from the man, and you don't need me to tell you that. What's great and accessible about it is that it's all melody in straight eighths while outlining the underlying chord structure. And like Ozzy said about all of Randy's solos, you can sing along with it. You note that in the second bar, it chooses to acknowledge the root note of the chord, only on the last note, enabling it to act like a leading tone, pushing you back to that home of G sharp. There is a reason it's so loved and memorable. So what if we add another layer on top of Randy's work, and blur the line a little between riff and melody? For that, let's look at Claudio Sanchez's work with Coheed&Cambria's first 2 albums. On these albums, his favorite rhythm scheme seems to be the 2-beat double stop pulse over 3, and you hear it everywhere, from a simpler riff like this to the more complex finale here. But for my money, he hit the right balance between riff and melody in the verse of the epic title track opener of his second album. You can hear a little of the parts of Randy here and here, but Claudio rhythmically breaks it up with his 2-beat pulse. And right here, before the final 5/4 descent, that gives the riff that foreboding feeling to it that permeates the entire song. The song and its album were the first exposure I had to the band all the way back in high school in 2003, and they've really evolved over the years, but I still have a thing for those first 2 albums. And at a level higher, for a riff that completely obliterates the line, that shows little distinction between melody and harmony, complexity and accessibility, sing-along ability, but stays within that 2-note power chord shape. I recently did a video on these guys, so check that out too. But let's take a look at something from the band that originated the term metalcore, with Matt Fox and shaihulud. The interplay between the voices is exceptional here, and utilizing the power chord shape here and here It twists and inverts it in a very satisfying way that almost gives the impression of a Bach two-voice invention. You can see the way it takes that dyad shape and bounces and jumps around it, swings the voices up and down, and there are hardly any parallel motions until right there guiding you home at the end. Randy was an ardent student of the classical guitar toward the tragic end of his life. He probably would have loved this riff. So let's play through them all again and listen to how they state their ideas and develop them. The philosopher Lao Tzu said, "It's the empty space inside a pot that makes the pot useful as a pot." That's a lot of pot. Basically, he's saying, what limits you can also be the thing that gives you meaning. Next time you're playing along with one of your favorite songs or you're writing something new, find a challenge to work within, like that two-note structure, and see where it can take you. Find a new sound and research it yourself or talk to somebody more experienced or knowledgeable about it. Learn its name, learn the concept behind it. You'll enlighten yourself and become that much more adventurous next time you set out to do something. So that's it for this episode. You know the drill, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.